Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry coming to you from two socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we bring you progressive news and views you can use right here from our Heartland Mama studios. You can find all of our previous episodes at heartlandmamas.com on all podcast platforms, YouTube, and proudly part of the Demcast USA network. Today, Marie, we're going to talk about the only thing anybody ever wants to talk about today, impeachment. And I know on Tuesday we talked about the run up to the impeachment trial, a little bit of background on it. And I have to tell you, reliving the last 3 days of the insurrection has been very emotional for me. Watching our citadel invaded, defiled, watching them hunt down members of Congress with the intent to kill them, knowing that we have three Capitol police officers dead and 142 severely injured. Some will never go back to work again. And those are the physical injuries. A lot of these Capitol police officers are veterans, and I know from working with a lot of veterans here how many of them have PTSD that they've learned to handle when they go into law enforcement or into civilian life. And a lot of them are expressing concerns now because it's reminding them of when they were at war. And I'm disheartened by the Republican Party not honoring their service and their sacrifice to protect the very people that are trying Donald Trump right now. And I told you in pre-show, I'm tired of talking about him. I want to move forward. But our country cannot move forward with this albatross, this orange spray-painted albatross around the neck of Liberty, pulling her into the ocean. So we should talk about what we've seen so far and our impressions and what exactly is going on there in the invaded citadel.
So, when we start and take a look at it, the Democrats did their opening arguments the first day, and the
Mm-hmm.
last 2 days, and today they're presenting their case against Donald Trump. And what they have done thus far is build a story, a factual timeline story. They've done a great job with the videos that they have put together, compelling arguments involving the lead up to, which included the months in advance.
Yeah.
Did it. I can't remember if it included the money his campaign put into it. I think there's a few key details here that they didn't actually have when they needed them to put it in there. Maybe they'll get it to put it in at the end. But as they wrap their story through, yesterday was really focused on what that day was like and the trauma to those around and what his actions were during the events and conversations with senators, etc. And today, their plan is to talk about the aftermath and not the aftermath just being, two guards have committed suicide. A guard has lost his eye. One is paralyzed. The workers, the PTSD. Not just that, but take it one step farther and really drive home the ramifications and implications of what this means by allowing this to happen.
This win at any cost mentality that the Republican Party has, that they, um, you know, all I can say is grooming. You can see through this process the careful grooming of these right-wing militia groups and of the QAnon, the careful grooming to make sure that when Trump needed to call his keyboard warriors to come out to go after the governor of Michigan, to go, to Charlotte, Charlottesville to go and do the things that he does. And you and I saw Trump in person try to incite violence against people at the MAGA rally we attended in Cincinnati. And you and I both know the rhetoric, the hate-filled rhetoric that he brought to bear there. And then the next day when we were driving home from there, the two mass shootings in Dayton and in El Paso, where they used the same rhetoric we heard from his mouth at that rally, that they heard and then took action. So it's not like we haven't experienced that in real time in the flesh, so to speak.
But you know what I felt was
heard.
most startling yesterday, Heidi? I think
Yeah.
the most startling part was, as you said, we've been to rallies. We have seen the crowds and how they interact and the energy that
Yeah.
they get from him. But
Yeah.
what I found, I don't know, startling, but as the prosecution is presenting its case and they're talking about it's the time frame right as the toward the end of the rally where people he first mentions the Capitol. And so everyone starts hollering, "We're going to the Capitol, walk to the Capitol, turn it around," right? And so they're all going, and so groups, this a big chunk of the rally started moving to the Capitol.
Right.
And then Donald Trump says, "I'll walk down with you," but he continues to tell his story for or babble for another like 20 or 30 minutes, whatever he does.
Yeah.
And as they're going down, he tweets that he's going, and you hear them hollering, "Everybody now, he's coming with us!" So it was this way. It was almost like this insane game of telephone. And as they're in the Capitol, as they're approaching the Capitol, he tweets about stealing the vote and about protecting the vote and the inflammatory rhetoric that he's tweeting and how his followers in real time are reading it and hollering it to the rest of his followers. And they're
Born.
following what he's saying.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, we know that they did it, but to see them spread it, not just keyboard warrior ish, but in real time, in
Real
person,
time.
it was
Yeah.
it was just really insane to me.
It was psychopathic. And, you know, you and I, when we were in Cincinnati, saw the floor director directing people to do anything from the YMCA dance to chant now, do this. And then they had people in the crowd that were there to incite other people, right? Because we could have gone to the pre-lunch. You could go to a training before a Trump rally, and at that training they teach you, when we do this signal, you do this. When we do that signal, you do that. Here's your MAGA hat and your shirt and lunch, you know. And we didn't get there in time to go to the luncheon and learn all the backstory. But we know people who've gone, and we've talked to them. And so when they were starting to leave, when they talked about them starting to leave for the Capitol building, you have to know that there was people already planted in that crowd to steer the crowd in that direction, because that's how those things work. That's how those rallies work. They have a predestined plan. When we do this, you know, if
And
25
they
of you
laid
start
out the and they tied that in. They tied
Yeah.
in the fact that the Women for America that we did a show on not long ago was all derived off of that lie to continue spreading the misinformation and riling people up. And I think the Democrats made an amazing case. But I want to say something, Heidi. You just, a few minutes ago, you mentioned that they're psychopaths. It's funny you said that, because my 15-year-old son, Sam, really wasn't into politics, but he's kind of coming into his own a bit and getting a lot more active. And I'm not pushing him, because it's a lot for anybody,
lot.
let alone a teenager.
Yeah.
And he said to me, we were talking about today's show, and he looks at me and goes, "Mom, are all Republicans sociopaths?" Now, my
Yeah.
first answer was,
Yeah.
okay, I want to say yeah, but that's a really bad example to set. So I just kind of looked at him and I couldn't give him an answer because I couldn't lie. And he goes, because I think they are. And he said, I don't know how anyone could watch that footage and Trump's tweets and the way people reacted to them and not see what was going on and not be horrified and not
Yeah.
be angry and he was really it was very observant of him to ask if they were sociopaths and
Well,
I'm not sure.
I'm going to bring this back to the rally we went to because, in a way, I think those were like drills for January 6th. We're practicing, right? It was like the Liberate Michigan, and then the Capitol attack happens in Michigan. I think that he speaks in code that the maggots
Absolutely.
can understand.
He speaks in
And
gangster code.
in
Everything he
gangster code.
does is this intimidation, this mobster.
It
Think
is.
mob bosses, right? Think
Yeah.
old school gangsters.
Mhm.
It is this barely even thinly veiled threat is
Yeah.
how he approaches everything from a strongman perspective, right? That's why he idolizes Un and Putin and
Yeah.
Bolsonaro. That's why he loves those dictators, right? So
Right.
he is smart enough and has been pulling this this mafia bully bullshit long enough
Right.
to walk a line so fine as to not get nailed because of semantics. And I don't know how the man is smart enough to do that, but not smart enough to read a security brief. I don't know how that's even possible.
No,
That may be
yeah.
some psychological disorder there, some sort of.
I think there's a lazy factor in there too, because he's used to bullying people to get his own way and not having to do the work himself, right? He's never had to really do the work himself. He bullies other people into doing it for them. And I I picture all these broken people that love him, that follow him, that think the world revolves around him. And I'm speaking specifically right now of the Republican senators that have been bullied and kowtowed. And wait, Trump infamously has collected dirt on people all of his life to use those cards that he plays at the right moment. Here's my ace. And if you don't want the world to see this ace,
You
you're going
really
to
think it
follow in
comes
line.
back to blackmail again? I think
Oh,
you got
God,
to be
yeah.
right, Heidi. We've had this discussion over time of
Ted
whether
Cruz, he's got something on
it
Ted
is
Cruz and
what
Lindsey
he
Graham.
right. Well, but the thing is and there's the argument that such a large portion of the base, people keep talking about the base, the base, the base. Well, as we talked about in our last episode, the base has dropped, but they're still avid, they're still rabid. But
Yeah.
the thing is all the corporations, all the big money is going away. So I think you're right. There has to be something so horrible. But if you're Ted Cruz, right, or you're Lindsey Graham, how could anything possibly be that horrible that would be worse than anything that Trump has done? Right?
Okay.
Like, I don't get it. I don't
Who was
understand.
the TV preacher that he brought down that had the pictures of him and the pool boy? Who was that? Was that
Was that a
Franklin Graham?
Falwell?
Falwell.
I don't know
Jerry
who the hell
Falwell
it was.
Jr.
They're all the same to me.
Well, yeah, they all look alike and they all talk alike. So
Bunch of
we
old white
know,
guys stealing
well,
money from
we
people
know
in a
that
false god.
we
They all
know
look the
that
same.
that Trump kept that information silent until he didn't need Jerry Falwell Jr. anymore, until he didn't do exactly what he told him to do. And then all of a sudden that information is out and Jerry Falwell has fallen from grace, hasn't he? And I'm telling you, if you could bring down somebody that big, what does he have on Franklin Graham? Something. Something. What does he have on Lindsey Graham? Something. He has something huge on Ted Cruz. We may never live long enough to know what it is. It'll come out in history books. But I think
It's
that
okay.
he's got.
We all know Ted Cruz is a cross-dresser. He has those Hoover tendencies. I mean, it's okay, Ted. Even your wife knows you're a cross-dresser.
Oh my
Don't
God.
sacrifice the integrity of the nation because of your transvestite predilections. It's okay. Everyone has their own thing, and we love and accept everyone. So come out of that closet, Ted.
Well, I was going to say, who is it?
I'm sorry, that was a diatribe. I could not stop.
I can't think of his name right now. I listen to his podcast all the time. Let me see if I can find it here. But he always comes up with stuff like that, and it's hilarious. And hang on, let me see if I can figure out which one it is.
While you're finding that, I think that
Al Franken. Al Franken will say stuff like that all the time. We know that you're a kleptomaniac, and
right?
And I think that's his thing with Lindsey Graham as a kleptomaniac or something. It's hilarious because
oh my God,
I don't think it's it. But Lindsey's been hiding his whole life, and I don't think he can come to terms with who he is and what he's all about. And I don't really care what he is and what he's all about, but I do care that he is in favor of sedition, and he's ready to forgive Trump for sedition, and he doesn't care, just doesn't care. And we were talking at pre-show about how this affects things going forward. How does it affect our country? Well, we are setting a precedent now that the president really can get away with illegal activity as the president and never be held accountable, ever.
And Heidi, I want to say something. You're spot on, but before I forget, I'm sorry to interrupt. Exactly. Okay. I have seen one senator and 2 Republican representatives when confronted with information that they can't refute, say that this should not be handled in a political court, but if these instances are actually real, it should be done in a criminal court. Now, here's the catch-22, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be referred to a criminal court. It can be referred to the Department of Justice,
Absolutely.
which representative from Pennsylvania, Brendan Boyle, he actually wrote a resolution to investigate and pursue criminal charges against Donald Trump's actions for the insurrection. But remember, there's an argument out there that says you can't investigate or charge a president while he's there.
Right.
And at the same time, they say that you can't investigate. Okay, so then anything he did when he was president would fall under the category of, well, he's not doing it now. That's immunity. Presidential power, whatever the case may be. Oh, he should have done that when he was the president, but you can't. So it's these legal loopholes that we find ourselves in every situation, which that's why this is so important, and it can't be understated where our democracy hangs. We talk about our democracy hanging in the balance. We talk about whether we'll be here, but this is it. Because the law has a way to handle things, but not when the law is subverted or when the law is inadequate. And
Marie, we're talking about a permanent subversion of the law, because this sets precedent. This sets precedent for the rest of our democratic lives. And I don't mean democratic as in party. I mean for the life of our republic, for the country of which we live in. This sets precedent. And we have to remember that when we go down this dangerous path, Republican senators, and I know 11 of you have left the room and not come back now for almost 90 minutes. And you're not on a potty
Heidi,
break. And
please, clarify that for our listeners. You and I talked about it, but set the stage, please. I want to make sure that you understand. Before Heidi says this, I real quick just want to say, Heidi wanted to cover impeachment, and I was...
another show planned
I wasn't
for today.
excited about that concept because I really felt it was going to be the same thing it was before, ignoring respect, not participating. You know how it's going to end up.
Yep.
We did, thanks to Heidi, and it's been really compelling. But Heidi, okay, now you got to say this. Holy moly.
Okay, so when the senators or when this is going on, they can be at their desks, up in the gallery, or in the ante room watching it on a big screen TV. They're only excused to go when there's a break, a formal break, or if they're going to the bathroom. So you have Josh Hawley, who's sitting up in the gallery with his feet up on the desk in front of him, flipping through notes and playing games on his phone. That's Josh Hawley, and he's an idiot. And people of Missouri, that's on you, because you had Claire McCaskill, and you let her go.
Even the senator who backed Josh Hawley, who campaigned against Claire McCaskill, who raised money, said he made a mistake. Y'all messed up.
Yeah, you elected baby Hitler, the next MAGA man. And that's exactly where Josh Hawley wants to be. He wants to inherit the MAGA mantle. That's where he is. And so, but we have 11 senators right now, Republican, that have left the chambers, have left the ante room, are not in the bathrooms, and are not up in the gallery.
And that was as of 2:30 this afternoon.
Yep.
11 senators had left the chamber and had been gone as of the time we took the air. So I just want everyone to know this is the final day of the argument. This is where you see the implication and you should be concerned. I think it is completely messed up that they're a jury of their own peers. I think it's definitely got to go criminal, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
I have to go off here. All right,
yes,
as we talk about this response, as we talk about the 11 senators who walked off the floor and haven't been back for 90 minutes, I want to talk about Miss Lindsay. Miss Lindsay, grab your pearls, pull up your fainting couch, and get the salts ready, because it's about time you had your ass ripped from head to toe. You sat there yesterday, on television and said you asked, I'm going to calm down and do this in a professional voice. You were asked how the images and the defense's case had made him feel.
Yeah.
And Miss Lindsay was a Twitter and said he was angry. It made him very upset. He was concerned. And you know why? The reason he was concerned, who he was angry at?
The Capitol
Police. He was angry at those. Well, it's absolutely the Capitol. Or no, he didn't say the Capitol Police. He said it's the response. Yes. I'm mad at the people who were responsible for the security of the Capitol, which was Donald Trump, who put in a new head of the Capitol Police, a new Department of Defense secretary, a new Homeland Security secretary, put people in place, ignored a permit, riled them up, created this. So Miss Lindsay, you want to be pissed off? You should be, and you should turn that to Trump, to Traitor Trump. Because he's the one who's responsible for the lack of security that day.
Well, I sent you the copy of the memo that we were able to see today from Chris Miller, acting Secretary of Defense, acting irresponsibly. That came out 2 days before the insurrection. So January 4th, they decided to disarm the Capitol Police from any riot gear. They had some on hand. You'll see them in face shields and stuff, but not all of them. If you notice, most of them are not dressed for a riot, right?
Absolutely not.
So they didn't issue any additional riot gear, no incendiary devices, no projectile devices, no stun guns. All of that was kept from them. Additional forces were kept from them. They were instructed not to touch, engage with, interact with Trump supporters, period.
And they were, yes, you're right. And they had been begged for, and those commanders called the Department of Defense, acting Secretary of Department of Defense,
Chris
to
Miller,
ask to come in. And they couldn't get a hold of him.
They knew it was a possibility that this could happen, and they wanted to be ready.
And the
And
permits. Can we go
and
back to the permits for a second? Heidi,
sure.
you and I have been to a bazillion protests. And one of the things I found most interesting when the insurrection happened was they had sticks, lots of weapon stuff. Now, every time I've organized some protests or rallies, you must sign a waiver saying there will be no sticks. It's a disclaimer when you go to the rally. Everybody knows you can bring
Yeah,
posters, signs, but you can't
yeah.
have sticks, you can't
No,
have weapons,
no,
you can't even
nope,
bring umbrellas because you might hit
nope.
people with them and start a riot.
Right.
That was not in the permit. The whole thing is shady. I'm just saying.
We have, in our studio here where we used to both be, I have, to the right of me where you used to sit, a collection of my protest posters. None of them could be used as a weapon, not one. And the one guy that sat in Nancy Pelosi's chair they showed yesterday had a walking stick that was like a supercharged,
A cattle prod.
like a cattle prod. I'm like, holy crap! I'm a farmer. I don't even have one of those. I mean,
And
really,
you have
does
to
that?
remember,
What's wrong with that?
perhaps if it doesn't change the senators' minds, perhaps it will change a few of the representatives' minds. Because remember, there was only a small percentage of the representatives were actually on the Hill when the insurrection happened. Because they were following COVID protocol, 75 would come in and vote and then leave, and the next 75 would show up at the Capitol. So my representative, I was just at a meeting with him, and he said that he was on his way to the Capitol, and his chief of staff said, "Turn around, you're not going," because it was his time to come in and vote.
Yeah,
So a
mine was not
lot of
there.
them weren't there and didn't experience, and maybe seeing it will have an impact. Except, Lindsay getting mad at the Capitol Police, who were set up to fail by the
They
commander
were
in
set up to
chief.
fail. They were absolutely set up to fail and die, in the name of, and because here they're in hand-to-hand combat because it's all they've got. Everything was, people were like, why weren't there more bullets? Why didn't more people die? They were disarmed before the 6th. On the 4th, they were disarmed so that they couldn't do it. Only those inside the actual chamber were, and they did shoot Ashley Babbitt, but she was coming into the House chamber, and that one bullet saved 100 lives, I'm sure, because the representatives were still trying to get out with their staff, with the press, with the other people that were in danger. And for them to go, wow, more bullets should have been flying. Oh, Trump systematically disarmed everybody. The governor of Maryland, they reached out to him over and over again, please send troops, please send troops.
He
Trump
called
never did it.
asking to send
No,
troops. He
yeah.
called
He
asking to send help.
Can we send you something? Can we
Yep.
send some help? And to listen to these Capitol police officers cry out for help over and over and over again, and the fact that they could keep their shit together while they were
That
doing this.
that was maybe the most compelling moment for
Oh
me
my
was,
God. I was in
I
tears.
can't imagine anyone who has ever been in law enforcement, anyone who
Begging
has
for help.
ever been in law
Begging.
enforcement that would listen to that and get no response and no help and the calls and the frustration and the terror, and I cannot imagine any single one would ever vote for one of those assholes again. It just would be beyond me.
It's impossible
It's only back
to
the
listen
blue
to.
when
And,
it's convenient. And it was never about police. It was always about
no,
racism, which is what we're going to talk about on one of these shows coming up here very soon. The racism in our
we're going to
police
talk about that in the
forces.
upcoming. Yeah,
But what we're
yeah. And we're seeing it here in Illinois over a police accountability bill that has made its way to the governor's desk, and watching all the white ring around the collar counties and further out just be outraged over
Hey, my
police
Democratic
accountability.
senator voted against it, but she's not really a Democrat.
Yeah,
Anyway, we're not
that's
going
like
there.
my Democratic representative, not really a Democrat. I mean, I expect
Right.
it from my senator
Republican
who,
senator.
he's a dino. He's a complete. He has a spineless dino, and we've talked about Lance Yednock on our show a few times. And I want to like him because I used to know him and like him, but I can't even hardly look at him
All
anymore.
right.
I mean,
Well,
it's
we'll
not like
talk
I'm not
about it
vocal.
another day with the
Another day,
reform
yeah.
bill, and we're going to be doing a special on the rise of paramilitary and right wing groups in our police force. But
Yeah.
until then, we will probably be doing another episode come Tuesday on the impeachment. I have a feeling as they wrap
Because
it up,
by
and I
then,
have to say,
I can say it'll be over.
if their case is as bad as their opening.
Opening statements.
Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward
I
to it.
told you. They could
I
send
will
my
have, I
daughter's
want
dad
our,
in to do a better job.
I think I told you this, Heidi, but I want our listeners to know that
Yeah.
I had a root canal done on Tuesday, which is why we went early. And I put in the impeachment in my ears on my phone, and it kept me distracted listening to how bad Trump's attorney
How
was.
bad it was.
So it gave me some humor and some relief during that fun experience. But thank you guys for
Oh.
tuning in. Hopefully, we will have a wrap up to this so that we can make Donald Trump go away and not have to talk about him again. But join
Oh,
us.
God, I'm so sick of talking about him.
Me too. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, live on Facebook, look for special episodes, which we will post. Join us, like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends. We're just awesome. And you can find us everywhere at Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com. Be sure and catch Marie's silly face on YouTube and on all podcast streaming platforms and part of the Demcast USA network. And we'll see you later, everybody. Bye-bye. Go back and watch the rest of the trial today. It's worth it.
I'm gonna. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye.